Hello everyone and welcome to the FPL Cougars show. I'm Chris.
And Kieran.
And today we are looking ahead to Gameweek 26, or should I say double Gameweek 26. Big game week coming, or starting this game week. So we're going to look at each upcoming fixture that's taking place, looking at potential key players and differentials. We'll talk a little bit about our captaincy, show off our teams and plan transfers. Let's get into it straight away because I imagine it's going to be a lot for us to talk through tonight, Kieran. But we'll start looking back. Game week 25 was a double game week for Leeds and Southampton. I'll bring up our scores on screen. What did you make of the game week as a whole?
Yeah, it was a bit crap until the last game where Leeds obviously sort of saved it a little bit because obviously the first game the captain Bamford blanked and stuff like that, and Rafinha and Meslier got his own goal, which I was absolutely fuming about. But other than that, it was fine. I mean, I only had two blanks across my team in the end, so not too bad. And obviously Grealish and Cavani I did have starting, which both ended up injured, which wasn't great. But I did bring in Rafinha for.
Was it Souček?
I honestly don't even remember. Yeah. Souček, that's it. Souček. So yeah, he came in, and then Antonio came off the bench for Cavani for his 7-pointer, which was nice. And yeah, overall Sterling doing okay. Fernandes 12. Well, it was they all sort of chipped in. So it was 85 points -4, which got a small green back up to kind of where I was a few weeks ago, from 210k to 184k. So it's going back in the right direction, I suppose. But this week I feel like I'm in for a red arrow because I don't know. It just feels like a bad week's coming for me for some reason.
Well, maybe we'll talk more about that in a minute. My game week 25 was fairly similar. I got rid of Souček, brought in Rafinha, actually captained him over Bamford as I fancied a bit of a differential. But the highlights, he looked fantastic against Wolves and obviously got the bonus points for despite no returns. And he probably could have had a haul watching that Southampton game back. I was thinking, wow, it could have been big. But yeah, just the... Yeah,
both games
really should have done. But 12 points, was happy with that. And then the captaincy, obviously. You and I, we didn't own Dallas between us, but he was the real star. And it was like all of Leeds' top picks in each position really returned, didn't they? Dallas, Rafinha and Bamford all had some good scores. It's a shame we don't own him. And I think he's up to like second overall now in the defensive sort of overall points this season, which is pretty amazing. It was good. And I think from the last 2 weeks I've had a couple of really nice green arrows. I think I've gone from 580k to 298k. So yeah, we'll see if we can build on that in the double game week. So what I'll do is I'll bring up... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, what's your sort of target now, considering there's 10, 11 weeks left?
Well,
basically?
Yeah, I think if I can get inside the... I don't know, let's say if I can half the rank from here. So let's say I'm at 300k now. If I can get to 150, which I think would be difficult, but let's say, let's see if I can get there as a base. We'll see. What about you? What do you think? 184 now.
Well, obviously the target is always 10k.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say 50, but I want to get to 30. 30 would be good because that's the lowest I've got in the last 2 years. So. 30k would be good to get that sort of consistency.
How many points?
Fingers crossed.
How many points outside 30k are you now? Do you know?
It's probably like 40 or 50, I would guess. Tell you.
40,
something like that.
It's about 60. That's okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Okay, and I've got about 40 or 45 points, which it sounds achievable, doesn't it, when you put it like that? All right, let's get on to the preview. I'll bring up our double game week teams on stream. So yours is notable, as I just said off stream a minute ago, because you've not made any transfers yet. You've been waiting. But before we sort of talk about each of the fixtures, do you want to generally talk about your plans for the double game week?
Okay, so it's just who I'm getting in for Cavani really is the main thing. And I haven't got my free hit, so I want to get players for 29 to cover that blank as well. So at this point, it looks like it's Cavani and Grealish out. Even though Grealish, we're not sure how long he's going to be injured for, and he obviously does play 29, but he might not be back then. And maybe I can get him back for someone in that point anyway. But yeah, Cavani and Grealish out for, it looks like Kane and probably Smith Rowe, just to get some money off my bench. Just to have a cheap playing guy who also plays 29 and that looks like the -4 there, and probably triple captain Kane. I'm unsure on the triple captain yet because might lean towards Bruno still, but those two in because they play 29, and then I probably have to play Bamford and Rafinha as you see there, which I think is fine because Villa could be there for the taking again, and Leeds looked like really good last game, and they've been unlucky in the game before as well. So. I feel if I had to bench one, I'd probably get the wrong one. And if I had to bench both of them, I feel like that's a horrible thing waiting to happen. So I don't have the bench boost. So just going to keep it like that and just roll that way. That's what I'm thinking. Or it's DCL and someone like I could even get Diagne or Diagna from West Brom or whatever it is, because he looks okay. And then I can get Son in as well to cover Kane a little bit. And then I'd have one more doubler, and I'd have to bench one. But there's.
I mean, for anyone, people may have seen just upcoming game week 29 is obviously a reduced one. But is your plan to just generally try and keep a few behind for that game week? Obviously, you've not got your free hit to use in that game week.
Yeah, so I think I've got 3, 4. I've got about 6 already, or maybe 7. Okay. So I think I might be able to get it to about 9-ish, which most people won't have. So that would be Spurs, West Ham's, Leeds, and Villa players, and I think that's fine.
Do you think that game week though is quite? I mean, I know we're looking ahead a little bit, but quite a difficult one to call because Leeds, who you typically go in on because they've got some good value players, away at like Fulham, who've definitely got better. Brighton against Newcastle is just. And then you've got West Ham, who are in good form, but against Arsenal might be a tricky game. And then Aston Villa Spurs, I think, is quite hard to call. I think it'd be a really low scoring game week in that one.
Yeah, which is fine. As long as I just have people playing in it, then I'll still get more points than other people will. I suppose. True. So if it's low scoring, it doesn't really matter. That makes
sense. All right. So my plans will probably develop as the show records because I've still got my one transfer in hand this game week. So at the moment, I've got 9 outfield playing double game week players. So Pope and Lowton, so double Burnley defence, double City defence. I've got Fernandes, Salah, Son, Gundu, and I've also got Calvert-Lewin. At the moment, I'm Calvert-Lewin triple captain. I'm going all on it because I think he's a nice differential captain this game week. Some good fixtures, and I feel like if I'm going to get to 150k, it's a decision a bit like Rafinha, which I'm going to have to take and hope it works out. What do you think about the triple captain chip this game week generally, and then who would you?
It's probably the biggest double. It seems like a good time to use it because a lot of people are going to be bench boosting, which I probably should have saved for this week in hindsight, but never mind. So I think double, triple captain makes sense just to counteract the bench boost almost. And obviously, if you get it right, you'll make gains still, of course. And then, Calvert-Lewin's only around 38% now. So he's sort of a differential on the triple captain sort of side of things, I suppose. And then even Salah, not many people are going to triple captain him either, even though he's got a Sheffield United away fixture sitting there. So, I think Calvert-Lewin's great. I would love to get him in this week and just at least own him, but it just doesn't seem possible in my team. Getting Cavani in instead of someone like Richarlison last week, where I could have just switched back to Cavani. It's just nightmare. But I like him. I think he's got 2 great fixtures for it as well. I imagine Southampton will be better than they have been, but then West Brom are obviously there for the taking, aren't they? So
you're looking at 2 teams there that haven't won a game between them in their last 5 games each. So. Yeah, they're both on really poor runs of form, and it's a difficult one as well because I think Chelsea crop up and make it difficult for me to want to captain either Salah or Bruno because they've been so good defensively recently. And I know they slipped up and conceded 1 goal against. I think was it Southampton? I think
Sheffield United because of their own goal.
So I don't know. I just feel like they've been a bit tighter recently, so it's making me a bit reluctant to go that way. All right, let's get into the fixtures and let's start off with the one on Saturday morning, which is Man City hosting West Ham. Of course, West Ham with Aaron Cresswell being the top overall point scorer in defensive side in FPL this year. Will they break him down? And will Sterling come away with anything this weekend?
Obviously my sort of preview, I've got Sterling captain, but that won't happen, I don't think. Just because I think Sterling's possibly due a rest. He's played 6 in a row now, including the Champions League last night. Came off early in that one, which is usually a good sign, but apparently, well, I watched some of it and he had kind of a poor game, so that's a bit of a worry. But yeah, it could be sort of tight game. I don't really know. Like, I think Man City versus West Ham, the last 4 games, is a record of like 9-1 to City. So, I think there was like a 6-0 in there, so that's why it's obviously quite high. But the other games were fairly low scoring. So obviously West Ham are now top 4. I think they're by right. I'm not sure if they went back down again after all the games were played. But so they're obviously going to come in thinking they could do all right here and possibly keep City down to not scoring many. And obviously Antonio scored in the the return fixture.
I think it was 1-1, wasn't it? Earlier in the season.
I think, it sounds about right. Man City versus Wolves as well. The second game, the last 4 games between them is an 8-6 record, so it's not as clear cut on that one. So Wolves doesn't look like it's going to be that easy for them either, and obviously Wolves look better defensively at the moment too. So I think it's looking good for possibly 2 clean sheets for City. So if you want to captain one of them in that regard, maybe Cancelo, who's looked really good lately. So I want to talk about him actually. Obviously, well, Pep did say he's going to make 5 to 6 to 7 players could be changed from the Champions League team. So it sounds like mass rotation in this double game week, which is something we're pretty much always used to now, which it just comes with sort of Pep, doesn't it? So I guess you kind of shouldn't second guess it. Just stick with the 3 you've got and just hope they play, because sometimes you got to be a winner, sometimes you got to be a loser. I'm expecting I'm going to be a loser because Sterling's probably going to be benched. Stones is probably going to be benched. Cancelo has played so many in a row. I'm worried on that. But anyway, Cancelo. So his expected liveliness has obviously been off the charts. But this is an example of defenders with more assists than him in this season, which he's had 2 of, right? Reguilon has had 3. Wan-Bissaka, who apparently can't attack, has had 3. Castagna, who's missed 11 games, has had 3. Lamptey, who's missed 13 games, has got 3. Bellerin, obviously, which is pretty funny as well, he's got 3. So, so that's all sort of players who've missed a load of games and apparently can't attack have got more assists this season than Cancelo. So even though he did get 1 last night and another clean sheet. So, defenders who have scored more goals than him as well. So you usually think Cancelo's scoring goals as well, but he's only actually scored 1. Dallas has got 5 goals at 5 million. Dunk at 4.9 million has got 3 goals. Vestergaard 4.7 million has got 3 goals. So I guess it's just an example of getting caught up on the eye test with Cancelo, and his actual attacking returns aren't obviously good. But he is, however, the 3rd overall scoring defender with 107 points with 12 clean sheets. So obviously that's where he's getting his points mostly. And bonus as well, as when he gets a clean sheet, he often gets some bonus. So yeah. I'm happy to own him, obviously. He looks good. So KDB as well, just to move on quickly. 11.5% owned, under 20%, under 15% owned for Kevin De Bruyne, who's probably going to start both of these because he didn't start in the Champions League. So, he's a big differential. Possible captain shout as well if you want to gain rank. I wish I could sell Sterling to him, but as I said, I don't really want to go sideways like that, which seems strange. So he passed the eye test in the last Premier League game, and obviously there's not much to say about him because it's Kevin. We know he's going to do well. It's Aguero as well. He's back as well. So who knows how many minutes he gets?
There's definitely a lot of choice on the City side, but I think it's like you say, as it always is the rotation of. They had the Champions League game last night, and then they've got the 2 Premier League games, and I think after that they've got United in the league. So it's a busy time for them. And you mentioned Stones might have a rest. I kind of feel that because he got a rest in that Everton game the other week, that sort of has set him up for a bit. Like, it's not usually Pep seems to rest them for quite like a whole game, and then he'll play them quite consistently for the games after that. Especially that's what he's done with Sterling before. So.
He got rested in the Champions League as well last night, though, so he's rested 2 of the last 3, I think.
Maybe that shows how valuable he was in the league. I remember I was laughing the other week about how poor Laporte looked for one of the goals City conceded in that Everton game. he had like a really weak attempt at a jump from the cross. I think it was the one Richarlison scored in. So perhaps I don't know. He is just saving stones for the league games. But no, it's I hope so. It's an interesting one. I mean, it's not crossed your mind, has it, to captain one of the defenders?
Yeah, as I said, it could be a worthwhile shout because it looks like two clean sheets, to be honest. But it's which one plays both. I mean, Diaz seems like he will play both, but his attacking potential seems very low. So but if you get 2 clean sheets, possibly a couple bonus, you're thinking maybe 16 points at a base. And a captaincy is obviously pretty good. So Diaz could be worth a shout.
Yeah, well, I mean, West Ham blanked on the road last time out, and that was at Fulham. And that was the game we all sort of pinned our hopes on Antonio having a big game. So it'll be interesting to see how they travel this time. I think Lingard's made such a big difference to them since he's come in. So in terms of performance, he's typically top of their charts, really. He's had 6 shots in the box in his 4 starts. Obviously 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 attacking returns, 34 points. I mean, he is way overperforming his expected points. I think he's down on like 19.6. So that's like nearly double, I'd say. Like 40% increase. So no, Lingard's come in and he's looked really good. Antonio's numbers are still up there. I mean, considering he's just had 3 appearances in the last 4, he's still managed 5 shots in the box, 3 big chances. He's actually sort of similar to Lingard in terms of expected points. So I think West Ham attack is still performing well. I just think it'll be difficult for them this week, and I'm probably gonna leave it as it is with my bench players and keep Kufal and Antonio on there. Not make any transfers and just use him for the blank game week, if you like, in 29.
Yeah, I'll be benching both as well. Antonio first bench this week, and one thing I didn't notice is that you sold Souček as well for Rafinha. I didn't even notice that, and I sold him as well, and I wasn't punished by him for once. It seems kind of crazy because he's I always missed his hauls and I always benched his hauls, and whenever I played him, he blanked. And I was thinking, as soon as I sell him, he's going to absolutely go meteoric, and thank God he didn't. So that felt alright.
I don't think I'm going to get him back either, because I think Rafinha looks like a nice player at that price and more attacking than he is.
100%, yeah.
So no, I'll keep hold of him. All right, should we move on? Any more to say on City? I mean, I've got Gundu, but I'm not convinced on captaining him now. I would have been if De Bruyne wasn't back, but now I think he might. I'm going to keep him for this game week, but I'm not that bothered about owning him and moving forward. Yeah,
I still think I've missed the boat. I don't really want to be like, oh yeah, Sterling to Gundogan. I think it feels a bit too late for that now, almost. Even though he still does look like he's staying far forward, but so he's blanked the last 2 in a row now. So I don't know. He's back to blanking. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to see. All right, should we move on and talk about the next fixture?
Let's brush past this one pretty quickly, I suppose. Okay, West Brom, they've got double. Brighton and Everton. It's actually quite an appealing one, I suppose. I mean, I've got... Actually, I was going to say Areola, but he's Fulham, isn't he? So, never mind. XG for the team for West Brom is 4.73, with 2 scored, which is 14th. But their XGC of 5.42, with 5 conceded, is 9th, which is surprisingly high for West Brom at the moment. And the guy I want to mention, I did sort of mention earlier, Diagni, I really don't know how to pronounce his name, sorry about that. But 6 million, 0.5%. So he's a proper differential. If he was 5.5 million, like a West Brom striker, I'd be down for punting on this guy. Because he passes the eye test right now. He's got 4, 5, 2, 5 and 2 since he started games. So he hasn't scored highly, but he passes the eye test, as I said. So fixtures for the double are good, and then up until the blank are good after that as well. So Newcastle at home after the double. Then Crystal Palace away. So good 4 fixtures there. His stats very good as well. 5 big chances, joint first of all strikers. Which says something, I suppose. 8 shots, 2 key passes, 1 big chance he's created, 1 goal, 1 assist since he's started games. 100% in goal involvement as well, and an expected in goal involvement of 61%. XG of 2.18, which is first for all strikers at the moment, and XA of 0.17. So, I mean, what's not to like I've got down here, apart from him playing for West Brom, I suppose. But it's just, 0.5 differential on a double game week. He could be the hero you're looking for to burst you up the ranks. I'm so tempted. I'd love to go there, but I just know that he probably will just be absolute crap if I buy him. But it's so tempting, Just feels like one of those guys that could be really just like that double game week hero that's just properly unexpected, and he gets like a goal and an assist in the week, and you're just thinking, or he takes out the Deeney clean sheet on the second game, and you're just like, yes.
You're dreaming. I mean, it's a big game for West Brom as well, up against Brighton. It's like a proper 6-pointer to try and claw them back. If they can get a win in that game, I mean, they've not won in their last 5, but if they can pull something off, it would be great. I don't know what goes on with Brighton, really. I mean, they had those 2 impressive like back-to-back 1-0 victories against Tottenham and Liverpool, and then they've drawn with Burnley, drawn with Villa, and then I think they lost, didn't they, against Palace.
That Palace game was crazy.
Yeah, it's just... How did they lose that game?
Yeah. They had 44 goal attempts, and Palace had like 5.
Oh, it's mad. Lost. I mean, it's probably not worth saying much about them because they've not got a double game week. But it says a lot when Dunk is sort of their highest sort of and Burn at like joint highest for expected points on the last 4, and Dunk is one of their most sort of prolific attacking outlets. He's had like 4 shots in the box, and he's had 4 key passes, which I think is quite amazing. And it's same with Veltman as well. He's had 4 shots in the box and 5 key passes. So yeah, a lot of their attacking threat is coming from their defenders at the moment. But no, Brighton are a team I just can't invest any players in, so we'll skip on right by them.
And yeah, if anyone does go for Diagne or whatever for this week, and he scores, like, just tag us on Twitter that you got him in, because I want to see people, because I think he's going to
have a good one. All right, watch this space. Leeds against Villa. So I'm contemplating dumping Bamford and Rafinha, or one of them, just to get another double game week player, and I'll probably know more as we get a bit closer to the deadline. But they've served us well, and they obviously appear in 29. What do you? I mean, we spoken about him a little bit earlier, but yeah, Rafinha. I mean, what a player, and just looks like he's gone from strength to strength since sort of like making his appearance way back in, I don't know what game week it was now, but middle of the season, let's say.
Yeah, he's the player that Arsenal fans thought they were getting in Pepe. That's what they thought, what they wanted. And Rafinha it's insane. He could have got 10 plus returns this week, because Cooper could have got four goals from his crosses. The guy looks insane, and just like he's constantly returning. I think he's returned 5 weeks in a row or something now. Let me have a look here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row he's returned. So I mean that's crazy. It's like 13, 5, 9, 6, 5, 4, and 8. I mean, they're not massive, but he's still doing really well. I mean, his stats are great. His XG of 2.27 and XA of 3.49, which is absolutely massive. And I don't think we've ever seen something close to that. I think maybe KDB's got close to that, but I think he might be one of the highest I've ever seen at the XA of 3.49. So yeah, absolute value at 5.4 million, of course. It's still under 10% owned, I think, from the last I did the notes. Yeah, he is. So still a differential. And 18 shots, 2 big chances, 19 key passes, 6 big chances created. Like he's might be even better value than someone like Gundogan or something. So especially at 5.4, and Gundogan's risen so much. So I think I'll play in them both, because I think Villa looks pretty bad lately at defence. So I think I'm just kind of forced into it at the same time. I don't really want to bench Bamford or Rafinha, because both of them seem good, and I'll get it wrong if I do bench one of them, because Bamford looks like he's got penalties still, got a goal in him as he had last week, so it was a great finish out of nowhere. Rafinha's just peppering the goal at the moment. So I fancy them to still do well and keep them for the next few, because West Ham after this as well. Then they got can't even remember who it is in the double. I think it's the blank. Sorry, the blank Fulham away. So that's really good as well. So
what do you think about Villa as a team for the double game week? I mean, they were going to be without Grealish. I thought it was funny that how this has sort of become a bit of a news story, that Grealish was out and it was leaked by sort of players transferring out of their fantasy football teams. And I liked Pep's comment on the back of it saying he didn't know what the game was, and I was reading all the FPL managers on Twitter saying, of course he knows. Why do you think people care who takes his penalties every game week? And someone's asking him. But back to Villa. I mean, they're without their talisman. There's some players who are in at good prices. You've got Conser, I believe. I mean, Watkins has been on my radar as someone to potentially look at instead of Bamford for this double. I mean, do you think? I mean, I thought they looked a little bit underwhelming against Leicester. I mean, Leicester are a good team this season, but do you think there's much to be said for bringing a player like Watkins into your team? I mean, he still looks okay and lively, but his sort of expected points in the last 4 have really fallen off. I think he's on 16, which averages out about an expected points about 4 per game. 8 shots in the box in the last 4 games isn't particularly high, 2 per game, and an XG of just 1.08. So the numbers aren't there, and the team form is a bit patchy at the moment. Do you see any of their players as sort of really consider them strongly? I mean, Martinez obviously probably goes without saying at this point because he's just like a points magnet. But yeah, what do you think of their outfield players?
I mean, I'm sort of happy enough to own Konsa because surely they're going to be better defensively than they were like last few games. And obviously on paper, Leeds and Sheffield United seem like pretty good games for, well, Martinez clean sheets annoyingly. But at least I own Konsa. So, I mean, they're pretty good from set pieces as well. So Konsa possibly for a set piece. Leeds are really bad at defending set pieces. So Konsa possibly for a goal like that. I think that their set pieces might be a way for them to get goals this week if Grealish isn't creating things for them. So, Sheffield United as well, who don't have pretty much any fit centre-backs anymore. They got Jagielka, who's basically 40. And then, Egan's obviously out now, O'Connell and all that. So I think, some of their defenders could be good this week. Maybe not the first game, because obviously I think that Leeds could score a few. But, possibly attacking-wise from the defenders on set pieces. Watkins, I think you're happy if you own. I don't think you buy him. And Traore could be a differential if you have the funds, or just maybe. But Barkley, possibly. I reckon Barkley's probably on penalties. He needs to step up a little bit in Grealish's absence. So there still is points to be scored there, but just it's hard to guess where, I suppose.
No, Barkley's a bit of a strange one. I mean, he's the same price as Traore, but I think you get so much more attacking threat with Traore. He just looks more of a menace. I mean, I think Traore's maybe doubled Barkley's points in the last 4 game weeks. I think 18-10, but. I kind of feel like Grealish would have been such an obvious pick, and it's so gutting for owners like yourself that he's out because we haven't seen what he can do in a double game week yet, like properly. And I kind of feel this would have been a good one for him to show himself. But we'll see. I'm contemplating Watkins, and the closer we get to the deadline, maybe I'll make a decision on it.
And Cash or Cash being out is hindered them quite a lot because El Mohammadi is such a huge downgrade on him, and I think one of the goals last week for Leicester was down El Mohammadi's side, so that you think Cash may have stopped. So there is that sort of thing, but the fixtures for clean sheets look better than it was against Leicester, of course. So
all right, we move on to Crystal Palace against Fulham. I think this is a big game for Fulham. They've looked like pretty good recently. They've not lost in their last 4, 2 wins, 2 draws, and I think they're only 3 points behind Newcastle now and potentially getting out of the relegation zone because they've got a better goal difference than them. Do you think this is the game they do it? This game against Palace? I mean, Palace have been pretty poor recently, apart from that scrappy win against Brighton makes you seem otherwise. But yeah, good opportunity for Fulham.
Yeah, I'd imagine Palace would get a little bit of sort of confidence from that one against Brighton, but Fulham have looked decent, haven't they? So I've got Areola in goals. So I'm hoping for a clean sheet for this one at least. So because this is the one where I need the clean sheet because Spurs probably unlikely to get a clean sheet. So I think they could. They look loads better, don't they? And then their players are starting to perform. So possibly.
I like it. And Fulham obviously they're keeping a couple of clean sheets recently, and like you say, you've benefited from that with Areola, and all the defenders good options at 4.5 if you're thinking about a bench boost this week. Aina, I'm not sure if you pronounced that or if I pronounced that right. He's looked really good. And is it Adrabio? Is that how you pronounce that?
Just say Tosin.
All right, he's looked good as well. So I think they've got options there at 4.5 million if you are thinking about a free hit or a bench boost. I think there's some good options. And to be honest, even though they play Spurs in the second game, I kind of fancy them to put on another good performance there. I think they looked okay when they played Spurs earlier this season, and they've played some big teams since then. And I think they've improved so much as the season's gone on. I know they've only got 4 wins, But yeah, 10 draws is pretty good. So they're not getting thumped too regularly. So yeah.
I hope they get beat because I'm going to bring in Kane. But as long as Ariola gets a few saves,
a few penalty saves and rebounds, you'd be happy with that.
Yes. Well, not if it's against Kane. So, so yeah, Palace side. I mean, XG as a team 2.16. 2.16 is so low as a team, like 20th overall. But they've actually managed to score 4. Obviously, 2 of those in the Brighton game were from very low XG. And then XGC of 7.75 with 7 conceded, which is 16th overall. So again, as we've mentioned in the last few videos, they're still looking awful on both sides of the ball. And then Mateta played last week, 5.8 million, 0.1% owned, looked okay-ish, finished his goal well with a little flick. But he's had 2 shots in 3 weeks. His XG and XA are both below 0.2, and I've got a little dad joke here of Meh Teta, as I like to call him. Meh.
Yeah, that is pretty bad. Oh dear.
But yeah, let's move on.
All right. I'm not sure what else to say on this one, really. I do think this is the game that Fulham are going to get out of the relegation zone, but yeah, we'll watch this space. Obviously, Crystal Palace have got that game against United as well, and I suppose depending on how this one goes, we'll maybe add more or less emphasis on the United game, because if they get a positive result against Fulham, they think perhaps they don't need to worry as much. But if they lose to Fulham and I don't know, they're slipping down in confidence, maybe United can pounce on that midweek.
Yeah, it worries me for Bruno captaincy, because this first game could go either way for Palace, couldn't it? Because then like Palace did well against United the first game of the season.
United were definitely not up to speed that game though. No way.
No. So we'll talk about Bruno a bit, but yeah.
All right. Should we move on and talk about Leicester and Arsenal? I mean, you mentioned Smith Rowe a little bit earlier, but it's funny really, because Arsenal are one of the teams I'm sort of like given least thought to this game week, because of they're one of the few teams that don't have a double, and they're playing quite a tricky and in-form Leicester side. But what do you want to tell me a little bit about who you got your eye on the Leicester squad? I mean, I've been thinking this week that if I can stretch it, Barnes would be a good replacement for Rafinha. And he's been playing well.
Yes. So obviously Barnes looks great. His Barnes versus Maddison in the last 4 weeks. Obviously Maddison is injured, but this will give you sort of a comparison of how they've been looking. Points 29 versus 29, so exactly the same. Shots 11 versus 14. Obviously Barnes is first here. Big chances 2 versus 0. Key passes 7 versus 7. Big chances created 0 versus 3. An XG of 1.4 versus 1.18. An XA of 0.59 versus 1.68, and then touches in the box 17 versus 11. So honestly, there's not really that much in it, and that sort of 0.4 is obviously better in the bank. Obviously, you're not going to be buying Maddison now, but as a sort of Grealish replacement, who I have, I mean, sort of seems like a wise move maybe, but Arsenal have looked okay defensively, and then the second fixture is Burnley away, who obviously have looked okay defensively as well. So I think he's a good option. I think Vardy's going under the radar a little bit as well. 2 starts he's had since sort of coming back from injury, and he's got 2 returns as well. So under 20% ownership now, so that's good for him on a double. Obviously, I reckon he might pop off in one of these games. Maybe not Barnes, but it might be Vardy's turn. And then someone else I'm looking at is Thomas, 4.2 million, 0.2% owned. I think there could be 2 clean sheets for them this week, Arsenal and Burnley. So, and their defensive sort of form has looked good too. So Thomas at 0.2% owned, who's sort of in the wing back position on the left side, sort of popping into the midfield, kind of like Cancelo does a little bit last week. So,
do you think he's got that spot nailed down? I mean, he played last week 90 minutes.
I'm waiting for the sort of lineups for tonight to see if he sort of plays in the Europa League. If he does, I think that's a good sign, because it shows that he's being picked more. But I don't know. They'll definitely do a 3-5-2 or something every week, but I think he probably will, because he likes to get Ricardo in front of Castagna at the moment, as in Ricardo just get bombing forward. He's playing out of position in the front 3 as well. So Castagna and Ricardo on that right hand side looks like a potent combo. So that means Thomas can play as a wing back on the other side. It's just an option. I'm tempted to take a hit to get Lowton out for him, possibly. as well. I just think there's sort of potential there with him for 2 clean sheets this week, but I don't know. Maybe it's too risky because he is so unnailed at the moment.
What do you make about Pereira? Because he looked like he was playing on the right of the sort of the 3 behind Vardy. He's obviously come back from from a long injury. He's quite expensive still because he's got last year's price hanging over his head, and he's 5.9. Yeah. He hasn't got any returns so far this season, but 3 goals, 2 assists last season. He's one of those players that could just go under the radar totally. I mean, again, he's got such low ownership, 0.9%. But like you say, he's got 2 decent games. You kind of think that if they can keep a clean sheet away against Burnley, then that would probably be reason enough to have him. And if they can get 2 clean sheets in a double game week, then you're happy days. A bit like what Justin did last time. They had the double, and perhaps Pereira can add a goal or assist and take his tally to something mammoth.
Yeah, I'd be 100% talking about him instead of Thomas if I had the sort of sterling funds in someone like Gundogan, then I'd have funds elsewhere to get him. I think he's great, and he probably gets something at least. He'll probably get at least a clean sheet and then possibly 1 attacking return is my guess for him this week. And you'll be happy with that on a double.
There's almost like too much choice this game week. You almost want like 2 teams to try and hit everyone. And it's
yeah. I've looked at wildcarding as well, and I just keep thinking, my God, this looks amazing. But it's not. It doesn't set me up as well for like sort of 29 as well. So the way I'm looking at Bamford and Rafinha is that yes, they don't have a double this week, but I get the extra game back in 29. So that's the sort of way to look at it a little bit there.
But I suppose I've been thinking that as well. But then I kind of think, would it be worth taking like a -4 just to get Bamford out? Even if I lost a bit of value, and let's say that whoever brings him in gets like 12 or 15 points in a double, you'd probably still make that back by taking a 4-point hit to get that player out again for Bamford. But I suppose it is a risk. I've done that before in the past and thought I won't take a hit to get a player, and they've gone on to do really well. So it can easily happen. On the Arsenal front, like I say, they're not a team of that much interest this game week, but probably just worth mentioning. Aubameyang's looking like he's coming back to some sort of interest again. So he's looked fit. Yeah, he's been doing well recently. He's looked fairly prolific. So 7 shots in the box in the last 4 isn't particularly high amongst strikers, but for all Arsenal players, he is coming out on top there. 3 big chances, 3 goals, 2 key passes. 24 points in the last 4 games from him. He's looked good. On the expected point side of thing, he leads that way as well, and he's second. Oh, sorry, second is Bellerin and Sacco, who played quite well recently. So I think, Arsenal. It almost feels like they're always turning a corner this season. You kind of feel like, they're having a good game, and that Leeds game made you think, okay, they're looking quite strong. But then you look more widely at their stats, and you see they've lost 3 of their last 4, and just 1 in 5. It kind of lines up for I kind of predicted it would be a Leicester win this weekend.
Yes, I agree. I mean, the only reason I'm looking at Smith Rowe is just, as I said earlier, like someone who's just cheap, who plays, and I can just put on the bench each week. Who plays in 29? So I mean, that's the dream. That's why.
All right, Spurs against Burnley. The first of 2 fixtures for Spurs against teams who, on paper, you think that would be a great captaincy option, but really I think Burnley on their day, and especially Fulham recently, despite them lingering in the bottom 5 places in the league, they can both be difficult to break down. And I just there's a lot of people putting a lot of weight on Kane and Son this game week, but I've not once thought about captaining Son this game week, which is probably wrong of me, but just knowing what I know about Mourinho and Tottenham and Spurs in the league recently, I just don't fancy him. Have you got anything to say? Maybe I should be considering him more seriously.
I think Burnley are way better at home, so it's a good thing that they're away in terms for Spurs. So the record is not great away from home. I think last season Spurs sort of rocked up to Burnley at home as well, and when Burnley were looking good and Kane got like a 32 pointer or something like that. I mean, Spurs obviously don't have much form as a team, Their XG is 4.18 with 3 scored, which is 17th overall, which is really bad, obviously. But they did score 4 last night, and then Europa.
They've lost 4 of their last 5.
the
though.
XG,
I mean, that's pretty bad. Like that's like as bad as Sheffield United have been in terms of like form.
Yes, I mean it's true. I mean, I just don't want to like not go into this game with Kane because I think he's got good like sort of fixtures on paper. He plays 29 as well, and he's got Crystal Palace after the double and Arsenal after that, which is a derby, often goals in that. So I mean, Kane last 4 weeks 0, 8, 2 and 2. It's obviously not amazing, but his shots have gone way up recently, so goals imminent possibly. 13 shots, which is second of all forwards, and that's despite playing 1 less game in the last 4 weeks than the rest of the forwards. So second for shots in just 3 weeks compared to 4 weeks for others is great. So yeah, XG of 1.33, XA of 0.42, 2 big chances, 4 key passes, 0 big chances created, and it sounds like Bale's going to start as well. So a front 3 of Kane, Son, and Bale. That sounds quite exciting. Against Burnley at home and then Fulham away. I'm happy with that, I suppose. So I think I'm happy to bring him in just for the longevity of him playing in 29 as well. So yeah, Burnley 54 shots conceded, which is the 13th worst at the moment. So I think their defence has been a bit more, not been as good as people sort of think it has been. So they've had 6 big chances conceded, and Fulham have had 8 big chances conceded over the last 4 weeks. So and Spurs, I think, I mean, they looked better at the end of the last game. I can't even remember who they played now, but they were starting to get better. I think it was West Brom. It was West Brom. Yeah, so
West Ham.
Actually, no, I'm looking at the wrong team.
It was one of the West
Ham. That's it. Yeah, the end of that game, they were starting to look a lot better, and they were getting chances. So. Yeah, I think there's goals this week for them. It looks like a trap at the same time, but then at the same time, it could be an opportunity to sprout the trap of being like, because people are like, oh my god, these teams on paper look like they're good, but then still Kane on a double game week, who's is going to play both.
Can I ask you directly, because I've seen a lot of chat on Twitter about it, people comparing Calvert-Lewin and Kane just for this week because they don't have either. I mean, has that sort of comparison crossed your mind, and there isn't any reason why particularly you want to go Kane over someone like Calvert-Lewin, just from a purely striker point of view?
For the 29, okay. Basically. Calvert-Lewin doesn't play 29. I think I'm happy to own Kane, because it's just, obviously, I think they're a better attacking team than Everton. Maybe not definitely, but that might be a stupid thing to say, but I think that they've just got to turn it on in a couple of games, which they have done this season. I think these two could be the ones possibly.
No, that's fair enough. All right. Well, on the Burnley front, I think it's pick some defensive assets and stick with them. And we've probably, well, like a lot of people, got two players on the hangover from the last double game week when they served us pretty well with 1 clean sheet. Obviously, Lowton was highly bought in. He scored that goal, and Pope obviously picked up some bonus, and I think they obviously only kept 1 clean sheet, but they were great to have, and I don't see any reason why they won't do something similar this game week. I think it's Lowton still who's sort of at top for expected points, followed by Tarkowski even, and Pope. So yeah, I think if defensively is where you're going to want to go with Burnley. I did laugh reading someone who'd made a prediction about I think it was Chris Wood maybe, that he would donate some money if Chris Wood outscored Fernandes on like the last double game week, or like last double game week to a single game, and amazingly that came in. But I can't recommend doing anything like that. I think you've got to keep it with the Burnley defenders. So yeah, I'm happy to go into this one with Pope and Lowton. It's almost like a throwback to last season having Pope again. It's lovely.
You actually like Spurs and Leicester, like you're not keep expecting clean sheets.
Yeah, I reckon they'll keep a clean sheet. One of those games
against who?
Tottenham. Yeah,
you're going to say Tottenham.
I just don't. Well, I don't know how you can like. I know they're Burnley are away from home, but Spurs are in such bad form in the league. I mean, 4 losses in 5 games is the same as Liverpool. They're just not good at the moment. And I mean, I appreciate Burnley aren't a lot better. I mean, they've only won once in the last 5, but they've drawn 3. I just feel like it could be one of those games where Burnley are right pain on the road.
Well, we're going opposite directions on this, aren't we? You're going DCL, I'm going Kane, so I guess we'll see who comes on the top.
All right, on to the next one. Chelsea, the much improved Chelsea are hosting Man United. Triple captaincy for Bruno for a lot of people on Twitter. So last 4 weeks, 17, 7, 9 and 12. Also scored 2 and assisted 1 in Europe. He got such a jammy assist, didn't he, at the weekend as well? That like little toe poke just round the corner, and then of course another penalty.
That's what he needs.
Yeah, exactly. And no team higher expected goals than Man United in the last 4 with 10.5 and 16 goals, also 3 higher than Man City. So they've got the pedigree recently. It's just, I just think this game against Chelsea's tough. I mean, Chelsea looked good in the Champions League against Atletico the other night, and the expected goals conceded is really good recently. I think they're only second to Man City. So where are you on this game?
I think it'll be tight, and I'm expecting a Bruno penalty.
You're expecting a Bruno penalty?
Just that in tight games, that's where he gets his goals from. So, just Rashford gets taken down in the box by a silly Rudiger tackle, or Alonso tackle. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen, isn't it? Bruno gets his penalty in this game, and then he gets a goal and assist in the Palace game, and I'm loving a triple captaincy on Bruno.
Are you going to go through the triple captaincy on him if he like, I don't know, has a fair amount of rest tonight? I mean, it's almost stupid of me to look past him, because he is the highest point scorer in the game this season by quite a long way.
By a long way.
Yeah, by like, what was it, 25 points to Salah? And Palace are pretty bad. Their stats, not good. Like 79 shots conceded, which is the worst of all teams in the last 4, and 57 shots in the box. Obviously, the Bruno is in form. It's almost like, mad, why am I looking past him? But I suppose I just fancy a differential at this point. Are you quite, well, you're telling me now that if he plays reduced minutes tonight, he's going to be coming in as your captain this week?
I mean, I was sort of speaking to someone on Twitter about this, that it would be nice to be able to have him on my team, support my boy, because obviously support Man United as well, and then triple captain him well on top of that, and then not have him, when he returns, make my rank go downwards. So it's like sort of 3 things that, like, just to make him support him, and maybe just not watch the games because it would be really frustrating. But best form player in the game still. So it's hard to not look that way, because he's going to be hugely triple captain this week. So I think it's a really tough choice between all of the Sterling could be a shout, like De Bruyne could shout, like Fernandes, Salah, even Kane, even DCL. There's so many options this week that I don't know. Like, I could pick any of them, and Bruno maybe just for the shield for once. I don't know.
He's starting tonight, isn't he, against Sociedad? I think, yeah. I'm pretty sure he's starting.
Oh, that's disgusting. What the hell? I'm so very surprised. Yeah. They're 4-0 up. Why on earth is he starting?
Most of the other team have been rested. Like Maguire's not starting, Shaw's not starting, Rashford's not starting. But Bruno's
That's
in.
Annoying.
So there you go. Something's probably amongst the triple captaincy pigeons.
Right, so Chelsea-wise defensively, their XGC is 2.66, was 2 conceded in the last 4, which was second, only below Man City by 0.1. And obviously Man City have been keeping clean sheets for fun. So, there's that against Bruno of just Chelsea being really good defensively. The one player I want to mention is maybe Werner, 9.2 million, 12.2%, 5, 10, 6 and 2 last 4 weeks. So returning, but blanked in the Champions League versus Atletico, and he's only actually had 1 goal in the Premier League since week 8, which is a long time. 9 shots, 5 big chances, 4 key passes, 2 big chances created. So an XG of 2.01, XA of 1.25. So that's a good. 5 big chances is great. Like tied with Diagne or
your mate,
So just putting him in there again. So just needs to be more clinical. Hopefully that's going to come time with him. But the fixtures in the double look obviously pretty terrible, so I wouldn't suggest buying him. But the defenses both suck ass. So Liverpool and United, the defenses both both are terrible at the moment. So there's returns here for him possibly. And then Alonso, 5.7 million, 3.4%. He started 5 of the last 6 games, including Champions League, last night with 14, 6, 1, 7 and 1 in the last 5. So like I said, the fixtures are rough for the double, but with the XGC only 0.1 less than City, I think he's worth considering at least. And then game week 30 onwards, they've got West Brom, Crystal Palace, Brighton, West Ham and Fulham.
Nice. Yeah,
and that sounds pretty good. So he's 9 shots first of all defenders the last 4 weeks, as many as Werner. So Alonso from game week 30, if he's still got that place, I'm all on that on a wild card. I'm very.
No, I think that's a really nice shout. I've been impressed with how sort of organised, I suppose, Chelsea have looked under Tuchel, and it's been a surprise really. I mean, he's changed the team quite a bit, and it's a surprise to me really to see Alonso come back and then someone they spent so much money on in Chilwell being benched. I don't know what's happened to Werner there. I mean, we had such high expectations, didn't we, at the start of the season? And the fact that, like you say, he's gone so long with just scoring 1 goal, I think you said, since week 8, it's just a real surprise. We sort of backed him for hitting 20 goals, and think how highly owned he was game week 1. He's been such a letdown, and I'm still not sure like he's been played in the right position for Chelsea. I mean, he's meant to be like a number 9, and Giroud was up there the other night in a big game against Atletico. So, I'm not sure he's been well used. All right, let's get on to 2 teams who have got exactly the same form in the last 4 game weeks. Liverpool and Sheffield United, 1 win in the last 5 each. Liverpool on 4 consecutive losses in a row. That's the worst sort of current form bar Southampton. They've got 2, I'd say, tricky games, but they are playing the team bottom of the league. They've obviously got Chelsea, who have now leapfrogged them in that time, who were in 5th, so that's a big game at Anfield in the second game. Liverpool generally, let's talk a little bit about them first. Like you say, Salah looks like he's flying under the radar a little bit, but I mean his points in the last sort of 4 or 5 games haven't been the worst. I mean, he had that 15-point haul against West Ham, 2 against Brighton, 7 and 7 against Man City, and Leicester, 2 tricky games, then another blank in that Everton home game where he did miss a few good chances, which he has been guilty of a little bit more this season. What do you think about Salah and Liverpool coming into the double?
I mean, you'd expect a clean sheet, so there's probably... Well, actually, having said that, like that Kabak guy has been absolutely awful. But if you own Trent or Robertson, you're probably hoping for a clean sheet at least. And then Chelsea game, I think they've looked kind of poor attacking-wise, haven't they? They're more sort of defensively focused possibly at the moment. So it could be 2 clean sheets for the Liverpool defenders, but doesn't seem likely, obviously. But Salah-wise, like, I mean, a lot of people are selling him, but after the double, they got Fulham at home, Wolves away, Arsenal at home, Villa away, Leeds away, Newcastle home. Then after that, after the Man United game, they got Southampton, West Brom, Burnley, Crystal Palace. Like their running for the end of the season is great. So I'm not selling him, that's for sure. And he's still top goal scorer in the league, but it was 17 compared to 15 of the next lowest. I think it's Bruno. He's going to be very low captain. He probably his EO would be possibly below 100 for once. It's tempting to even put it on him, even though like Sheffield United have been sort of tough for them recently, and Chelsea will be. Like there's goals in these games still, and they've got to start telling off at some point, because they're still Liverpool. They still like a team.
It's so strange. I mean, Salah has. He's returned well, but he still looked a bit of a shadow of himself. Like I think he's had 8 shots in the box in the last 4 game weeks. I mean, put that in perspective. That's just one more than Alonso, who you just mentioned, who for Chelsea, like one of those came off the bench. That's the sort of same as your mate from West Brom, Diagne, and the same as Mapai. So I mean, his numbers are way down. His expected points are fairly high actually compared with sort of his actual points. So 26 expected points across the last 4 games, actual points of 18. So there is a fair offset there. He has 2.55 on the XG with 2 goals scored. Is roughly about the 5th best of all players at the moment. So he's been okay in some metrics, but he's just really dropped off sort of in the box, which has obviously impacted his points return. And I suppose it's just a bit of a gamble to see if he's going to get anything in these two games. I think the Chelsea game is going to be tight. I don't think Liverpool are going to score more than a goal in that one because of how good Chelsea have been. And so then I almost think his triple captaincy, a bit like Bruno's, comes down to the other game, which is Sheffield United away, who can be tricky to beat on their day, a bit like Palace.
God, you're going to make me get Calvert-Lewin to triple captain now, aren't you? Just because he's the only one with two really good fixtures, possibly, other than maybe City.
And City got too much rotation. I mean, I'm
stop
trying to just make my decision purely fixture based. And so it's Chelsea have been throwing the spanner in the work for me all week. I can't captain Salah and I can't captain Bruno because I just think that Chelsea game is just a blank for both of them. Anyway, we'll see. Is there anything you want to say about Sheffield United out there?
There's nothing to say. They're just
all right. Well, let's talk about the last two teams we haven't covered. Then Everton and Southampton. Although it feels like we've spoken about Everton a fair bit with Calvert-Lewin. Obviously, Ancelotti came out and said he's fit and trained well. You don't own him. You've got some numbers on him though.
Yeah, so he's actually the highest scoring forward of the last 4 weeks, despite missing about 200-ish minutes, which is I saw that, I was like, what? So he's had a 9, a 12, a 0, 0, and a 4. That's the last 5. But yeah, even at 12, it's the last 5 weeks, but yeah, still 200 less minutes than someone like Jesus and Werner and all that sort of people. So 7 shots, 4 big chances in that time, 1 key pass, 0 big chances created, but an XG of 2.18. An XA of 0.34. So, yeah, better XG than Werner, and he's played 200 less minutes. So, pretty good, obviously. 7.7 million, under 40% now. Looks like he's going under the radar as well. So, expect him to play both, you'd assume.
Absolutely.
At this point, obviously, talisman. So, and then Richarlison, who obviously I didn't get instead of Calvert-Lewin when he got injured. I should have just gone that way. I mean, I've done that before, I think, when it was Everton a couple of years ago, and I went to Walcott.
It might have been more Richarlison,
I think
remember
it was.
That.
And that was an absolute disaster, of course. So yeah, I obviously went for Cavani, who got injured and got blanked in the West Brom game of all games. So fantastic. But yeah, 2, 5, and 8 last 4 weeks, and those 2 games were against City and Liverpool that he got returns in. Pretty good. So his XG of 1.24, XA of 0.15, 5 shots, 3 big chances, 0 key passes, 0 big chances created. So, I mean, the stats aren't amazing. Shot count isn't great either. So I think it's Calvert-Lewin this week or no one from Everton, or possibly the defence maybe. What looks like 2 very good games, of course, after for this double, and then they got Burnley after that as well. So the XGC is actually 19th of all teams, which is pretty bad. So they've only had 2 clean sheets in 13 weeks as well. So Digne, I think, is someone worth considering at least. 7.8 million. He's had 8 assists across the season, which is pretty high. Because compare that to Cancelo, who's got 2. So, plays Southampton and West Brom, obviously, who are poor defensively. Only 2 clean sheets across the season is obviously a worry for them, but surely he gets at least one this week against either of those 2 on some of the set pieces if Sigurdsson's not playing as well. So an XA of 0.85, which is pretty high for a defender. 3 shots, 2 key passes, 2 big chances created for him. So that all sounds pretty good. If you're on a wild card, you'd probably pick him for these 2 and going forward. And yeah, even Holgate, Godfrey, someone like that, they're cheaper at the 4.5-ish area. That they seem like good options. You just got to hope Pickford doesn't have a blunder.
Probably quite likely.
He probably will. So
I think Southampton are a team in this game week, a bit like Arsenal for me, who obviously have just got the one fixture, and also they're slap bang out of form, so it's difficult to sort of recommend any of their players at the moment. And I also think they're not one of the teams to feature in 29, so it's not even worth having them from that capacity. I felt a bit sorry for people that got in on Ings and Adams for game week, or the game week just gone, because obviously they shared minutes, and I think they got 3 points apiece maybe, but it was a pretty bad showing for Southampton really, and none of their players in the last 4 weeks have looked like tearing up any trees. Minamino I should say, has played okay, scored 2 goals from 3 shots, so he's not exactly looked like he's gonna sort of continue that form. I think he's done well to convert his 2 chances. Ings has been the most sort of active in front of goals, 6 shots in the box, for him in that time. 3 big chances, just 15 points scored from expected points of nearly 20. So, yeah, he's underperformed slightly. I just think Southampton are going for a really, really rough time at the moment. Obviously, that 9-0 thumping obviously has just absolutely ruined their confidence. And, yeah, what do you think is going to make them turn a corner?
I don't know. They've done it before, and just like they must have had to sort of sit down or something, and just been like sort it out. And I don't know. They've had plenty of time this week to sort of go over it. I just feel like Hasenhüttl has that in him to sort of get the players behind him again and just turn it around again, because he's a great manager. I feel anyway. So. I just always have a bit faith in Saints for some reason. I like them as a team and feel like they can turn things around. And Everton have put on like a stinker recently, like against Fulham recently, when they absolutely just didn't show up at all. So they've got stinker games in them, and it's obviously Calvert-Lewin. I don't think played that one. So, but yeah, I fancy Saints to hopefully keep them to
at least 3. Do you class at least 3 as like low scoring?
Nah, it'll be a 1-0 and it'll be a...
Vestergaard own goal. No, Bednarak own goal.
No, it'll be a Bernard goal when he comes on.
No.
It'll be a Davies assist.
It's something...
Sorry, mate.
Something like it'd be like a Sigurdsson. I'll be checking it. It'll say like 6-0. I'll be like, oh yeah, DCL goals will be like Sigurdsson 5 goals. Awful. All right. I think we're about there on all the teams. We've covered them all once. We'll just wrap up by saying, has chatting through this made you any closer to knowing for definite either 1, who you're going to captain, or 2, what your transfers are going to be? No. Right. That's why we do this.
I mean, that's not great for... why have we done this show?
We're meant to be making our
Sorry about
ideas clear. In fact, I think we just muddled the water. If we just made like a spin chart and spun like a pen on it, and then we might have had an answer about who to captain. We have done that before, and that for a double game week, and it worked out okay. Well, anyway, everyone knows who I'm going, because it's been on the screen for goodness knows how long. I've got triple captaincy activated. It's Calvert-Lewin, and may the force be with me. Transfers. Oh, sorry, yeah.
I could do your moves. I could go Cavani to Calvert-Lewin, and I could get. I think I could get Son for Grealish. So.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be really boring? And everyone on the chat would be going, "Oh my god, you guys have got the same team."
Now I'm going to back Kane, because his shot numbers have gone way up. He's fully rested. I just fancy him to give Tarkowski a wet willy and screw him over and get 3 goals past him.
Screw Pope over. Well, I've got...
Yeah, screw your week. Because
what do you think I should do with my 5.7 million in midfield if you had that much money to play with? Because I'm thinking I might get Rafinha out, but there isn't a whole lot of choice for double game week players.
So you got 5.7 million?
Yeah. Do you think there's anyone...
Or in the bank? Or
no, that's all to spend. I was hoping I could maybe get Traore, because I've got 1 free transfer. I can either get rid of Bamford and have 6.8 million to spend, or get rid of Rafinha and have 5.7. So Bamford obviously looked like it could have been Watkins, but it wasn't that inspiring. Rafinha, I was then thinking, oh, maybe I can get Traore, but I can't afford him, and there's not really a good combination for me to get to Barnes, who I would really like. So I don't know. You've got any thoughts on
get Diagne?
Maybe I
for
could
Bamford.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll do that.
You're not going to do that, are you? I hope you do. No, I like Traore maybe. El Ghazi possibly, because I think he probably plays both with Grealish out. So
okay. What about Pereira from West Brom? He's 5'4", similar sort of price.
Yeah, he's had some good sort of numbers lately as well. So yeah, he's not a bad option.
All right.
Is there anyone like? Could you get to like Mount or something like that?
No, he's too expensive for me.
Yeah. Sigurdsson,
I don't know. We're getting into we're really scraping the barrel now, aren't we? In non-players, 6.8. Sigurdsson's expensive. Anyway, well, at least people know who I'm captaining, even if they don't know anything about who you're captaining, what your transfers are, what my transfers are. People have got a little bit of an idea what we're doing.
So, captaincy. Triple captain Kane or Bruno.
Okay,
yeah, that's between those two.
Surely Bruno. It's not Kane. No way. Tottenham are infuriating.
It could be Sterling.
Oh,
could be
Lord.
Cancelo. Could
be
be
Calvert-Lewin, maybe.
Could be Areola.
Right.
If Tottenham get if play Tottenham and get a clean sheet against Palace and Tottenham, Areola, Mr. Nipple himself, getting the.
Maybe I should just do
sheets.
Pope. I've always wanted to triple captain Pope. I mean, we both own Salah, and we've not mentioned him once in all of the chatting there about who we could captain, which says.
Salah's
I mean, in years gone by, we would have absolutely done anything to captain Salah for a double game week, and maybe I could slyly do that. Anyway, no, I'm not. I'm gonna stick with Calvert-Lewin. Cool. All right. Have you got any more to add before we wrap it up?
I think we actually missed a game earlier, but it was only Newcastle Wolves. But doesn't really matter. Neither of them were on a double, so
no, exactly. Who cares? Sorry, guys. All right.
I'm good.
Tune in some other time for that. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. I don't even know when this game week ends. It's so damn long. When does it end? It ends a week today, Thursday the 4th of March. And then they're going again from the 6th. So we've got a day break. Perhaps we'll do a live show and we'll consult our triple captaincy successes after that.
That's
cool. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. And we'll be back next time. It's goodbye from me.